So this is gonna be, and you can see the mess. I'm getting ready for the weekend. Um, so this is like gonna be, I don't know if I probably already did this, but let's do a quick overview of the wiring that's needed to light that thing up. Not just the tower, but basically the entire base. Over the years, I have been buying Rob Hendricks life lights, and I'm going to push these things out of the way for a second so we can see it. This is my one of my grab bags of life lights, cool pieces, and then I have this is. Let me drop the phone for a sec, because you know we're professional around here. Let me drop the phone, hit the phone. This is my bag of bits of broken pieces and pieces that I'm going to use. I bought at the local electronics superstore to be able to plug in wires and modules. These are all old, busted up Lifelite LEDs that are broken, but I can reuse them by extending wires and soldering them out. This is my my ribbon cables that I've been using for helping out. These are 12 volt LEDs, straight 12 volts, so you can just plug in 8 C cells or AA cell batteries, and then all of a sudden you can like brighten up the whole thing. So I got a whole bunch of pieces and parts in here, things I should throw out. Battery boxes where I snipped off the wire to make my own extension cables. I don't know why I keep the battery boxes. It's absolutely incredulous to me. So I have thrown out stuff, but it's very rare. My friend sent me, and I really do thank him, a bunch of springs because I was trying to make the contacts for my monorails push down my springs, and these are some of the braided cable I got for slot cars that I'm converting into using for the monorails. But anyway, that's my little bin of bits. This is my big bin of actual wires that are still in package that I bought off of my good friend Mike Shields when he was closing up shop. I really appreciate it. So in here I have a bunch of some advanced kits that are older, so they're the older advanced kits, and I think one of them is actually not working properly. You can't program it properly because you can't see the flashy LED, but it's old and I probably shorted it out. So and I got a bunch of basics in here, a bunch of basics, and I have what I should do, and what I was thinking about, just to go off on this quick tangent, is every time I order from Rob, or mostly every time I order from Rob, I get the 9 volt to Rob Hendricks Life Lights adapter that you can put on the end of 9 volt ribbon cable. I can't even speak. 9 volt wire, or you can actually attach it right to the RCX. It's really fantastic. So I may, quote unquote, convert all this stuff and get rid of all this and set it up so I can connect all the lighting to RCXs. And I do that and I hardly doubt I'm gonna do it, but I wanted to do it. The idea is to have the RCXs talk to one another and light the thing up in patterns instead of just one big power switch and the whole thing's lit up. The issue is, of course, when I wired the tower, and again, I'm going off the top of my head, do not quote me and do not sue me if you blow up your own Lifelight's kits. But I think, if I remember correctly, Lifelight's kit connected to a 120 volt power supply. I talked about this in the past. You can have 4 or 8. Let me see, just give me a sec. No, there'll be 8. You can have 8 of these kits connected to one side of the power supply. I don't think it says it on here. There's one thing that Rob did on these old 9 volts. It says right here, Mac 32 LED, 32 LEDs. So that's 4 kits, because 4 times 8 is 32, right? So each side can have 4 kits to this. So this one would have 8 kits altogether, 8 basic kits altogether. I think that's what it says. So basically it says here, max 32 LEDs, 6 times AA, max 16 LEDs at 1 times 9 volt. I guess that's the battery, like the 9-volt battery. So that's what he did back then. So the 9-volt battery, as we all know, is not nearly as powerful as 6 AA batteries, but I never cared because this thing wouldn't be connected to batteries, it'd be connected to an RTX. So, or a train controller or whatever. So, but this thing can take 32 LEDs, so that means on each side. So 32, 4 and 4, so 8 of these all together. Whereas if you plug it into 120 volts, if I remember correctly, plug in 120 volts, each side could take 8 kits, right? So I factored that in when I did the wiring for that, because I knew I was going to go to 120, and I had 120 volt systems in there. Because each one of these landing pads is 2 kits, straight up 2 kits. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Now I had a piece of paper years ago where I had all this written down, and I don't even know where it is now. But I had to go through the whole thing and figure out how many kits I had in the entire thing. But I do have some of the wires, some of the trunk wiring that goes through the whole thing. Some of them have 6 to 8 light flight kits on one wire that comes back to one of these things to plug into one half of this. So I could not all of a sudden, without rewiring the tower, which I would have to do to knock it down to 4 kits per wire, would be, the actual wiring would not be difficult. As to taking apart that thing and redoing the wiring, that would be difficult. I think, what was the number I had? 50 kits altogether? I think it was something like 50. Anyway, a lot. So anyway, but that's future state. It's not this weekend state. This weekend state, I'm going to go with what we have, which is the 120 volt converters and stuff like that, because I don't want to waste batteries, and I don't want to have 9-volt converters and blah blah blah. So Rob is now putting out USB connectors. So basically it's sorry, let me get this one. It's this thing connected, instead of 120 volts, it's a USB connector, which is fantastic, because then you just get the USB hubs and plug everything into that. And probably, I would imagine there's some software out there. I don't know if there would be, but I'm thinking there might be software out there to control a USB hub to turn things off and on, so you can have a light show, basically. I cannot do that right now. What I would have to do is I would have to make manually light switchboard, because each one of these things would be plugged in to a 120 volt connector and plug into a plug that has a light switch connected to it to turn it off and on, and that would just be so stupid of me to do. So I'm not going to have any control besides all on or all off at this point in time. And basically, it's a cute idea to have control over the lights, so you can have a light show like they do at Christmas time at people's houses. I'm just, it's a thought, but I think it's so far down my list of priorities due to the complex nature of it. If I could get them all connected to RCXs, I mean, that's one thing, because I can control RCXs and I have all these. So it would be neat if I could do that with RCXs, but I'm not going to do that with RCXs, at least not for the immediate near future. So I am getting ready for the show. There's not a show, the display, the top secret project I got going on this weekend, and therefore I have to remember what I did for when I lit the thing up in my upstairs in my living room a couple months back, and my show that I just had. And so I have all this stuff out on my desk. You can see those things there, and you can see all this big pile of morass of wires there. So I decided to go through what I have to go through just here. And again, I don't know if I'm going to video it on the weekend, the actual electrical setup. And this is not even including the stuff I have to use for the train and the 4 monorails. This is just lighting. This is 100% lighting, and most of it is, again, and I can't specify or stress this enough how wonderfully fantastic it is. Rob Hendricks Life Lights. Now, he did combine forces with somebody else lately. I haven't paid too much attention, but he's got a new company name. I don't know what it is right now, but I'm sure you can still go to lifelights.com and find out what that is, and support him as you can. It's seriously the best lighting kits I've ever used. It's really easy. You don't have to modify too much unless you really want to, which I do. But it's so easy to light up things with Rob Hendricks Life Lights kits. So to start, and this is going to be a bunch of tangents, but we'll just go through it one at a time. I have 10 120 volt connectors here, and 5 of them are for the tower alone. And what happens is on the base of the tower, you have my core building to the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and 4, the side, that's whatever. So basically all the wiring goes all the way from the top and brings in all these things of tree-like, branch-like, and brings them all down to the bottom. They're either going to be in this building here, this building, this part of the building, and so when you're putting the base together, the 4 main parts of the base together, you have to then connect these things inside the base, and then basically, and then as you go up, you connect up the wirings that I just showed you, these guys, which I use to separate all the different zones, all the different levels, and you just plug those in as you go up, and it lights up. So 5 for the tower alone. So 5 times whatever, lots. So the issue I had is, let me just remember, there was a 6th one for the base, and that was the original one that I got from Rob Hendricks when he first started producing the 120 volts. And let me see if I can find it easily here. I think this one's it. It's his first iteration of the 122 life light connector, which is this guy. And the problem with this guy, for me, that I did, no fault of his, is this is very old, is I broke the lead here. So what happens is that in one position, if you're into any kind of electronics from back in the day and you had these kind of adapters, it works right about there where the lights will come on. But if you don't do that, it could short out, or it could blow up, or not connect at all. And of course, I put this connector, which is a separate size than this new one's. This connector is in one of those buildings. So I have to take apart that part of the tower and replace this guy. So I have a spare here, 120 volt, the newer ones that he made up until recently. So I have to take the adapter out of that building, which it's going to take some time to take apart and put back together without smashing it to pieces. So I can eliminate this guy. I used this guy in the light up of the layout upstairs a few months back, but it took me a long time of finagling and getting the thing to stay perfectly still so it would actually light up the building, the part of the 2 connectors that it was connected to. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to throw this guy out, and therefore I'm probably going to throw out the connector. Well, not throw it to connector, because again, what I did now. so going with this part of the story. So I have this one with the original adapter on it. The adapter's in the building. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to put this in the building. What I couldn't find, and I cleaned up my entire room, and I could not find the 120 volt adapter for this guy. So this is my 11th 120 volt adapter for this kind of make. So if I had, one of these, I would just plug into there, and then I'd be done. So what I had to do now, so that's what it's supposed to look like. That's what you get in the kit, the 120 volt adapter kit. But since I was missing the actual 120 to 3 volt converter, I actually had to go on Amazon.ca, and I ordered this yesterday. And so this is a multi-voltage converter that comes with ends, which is kind of neat. And so I found the right end for this guy, and it fits in there just like that, and it works. So now I have this guy. So now I can replace the old original 120 volt converter board here, the old one, and put this one in there. So that's what I'm gonna be doing tonight and tomorrow. because I still have until the weekend. The only issue, and this is what happens, this is what invariably happens with me. So note how these guys are a nice 90 degrees. So it fits fantastically inside a building, and the wires come straight out the bottom because I drilled holes in my wood. So this thing is right there on the edge of the base plate, right? And so the building's above this. And so I just plug this thing in that's come up through the hole and plug it into that guy. And we're, Bob's your uncle, everything's happy, tickety-boo. So I saw 3.3 or 3 volt or a multi-voltage converter kit that had a 90-degree elbow on it. And I thought that's the one I ordered. But what happened was that's the one I saw originally on Amazon.ca the other day. I guess yesterday, because we got it Prime and we ordered it yesterday. And then I saw one that was cheaper, and I forgot to take into account the cheaper one does not have the 90-degree bend in it. So now this whole thing, look at this, look how long that is before you can actually bend the wire. So now I have to put into my building where the old converter is, I have to build that much space into it in order to have this wire sitting inside the building. So I am not happy about that. As soon as it showed up, I said, wait a minute, I ordered a 90-degree one. And then I looked at the actual order just now, 5 minutes ago, which made me want to make this video. And I realized I did not order the 90-degree elbow one. I ordered this one instead. So I should have kept with my original purchase, was like $3 more. $3 more, and I should have just kept that. And I can't believe I did this because I forgot. I mean, these are nice. This is gonna be fine. The thing, well, maybe right now for this show, I won't even bother replacing this guy because I got all these ends, and I'm gonna figure out which end will actually plug into the original that's sitting inside the building right now. But still, I'm gonna have to figure out how to make enough space for it because it's probably this guy here. I don't know. Let's see. Pair sizes. That's not it. The floor. So this guy and this guy I forgot. They look remarkably the same size. So this guy will probably do. I won't even have to replace this guy, but I have to make sure there's enough room to plug this in. So, anywho, that's my problem, not your problem. But going with that, so basically I have 11 120 to 3.3 volt converters, adapters in my layout. 5 or 6 of them for the building, and the other 5 which connect to this big huge morass of wires here. This morass of wires is what I built the last time when I did the layout in the upstairs. Basically I got a ribbon cable and I just started splitting it off into 2. This is one's not connected yet. I haven't got it. That's future state. But basically, I put see, this is why I snip off the battery boxes. See, there's a red and black wire off the battery box, and I just soldered it to these wires here and heat shrunk tubing. So I have my connector now. So this will now, and again, I keep on doing this, and I didn't need to. This guy will just plug into here, just like that. Oh, turn around, just like that. And now this will be lit up, right? So I got all these taped, basically double face taped to the bottom of the modules, and all the wires coming in here. And so I just have to connect these 18 wires, 5 times 10 wires. I got 10 leads off of this guy. As I'm putting out the wooden platforms, the wooden modules, because I have 9 wooden modules. And so I can do that very, very easily. As I put one module down, I flip it over, I connect these connectors to it, and then go on to the next one. Because each module has just 2 or 3 or 4 life flights kits. It's fantastic. And then because I'm going to the next one. And then at the center of this huge wire, I'm not going to roll it now. You can see it right there. I have 5 of the 120 volt converters. So these guys will plug into here. 5 of them, and this will be sitting underneath the whole layout, and the wires will just come back to the central spot because I just have it all ribbon cable. So this will power all 9 of my modules. Oh, that modules. I gotta stop saying that because other things are modules. 9 of my wooden modules, which is why I designed it this way. So I have to come up with a better way of rolling it up because it's a bit of a mess, but it'll work. For now, it's my only second time using it. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's the extent of the life lights. 11 120 to 3 volts, and then the wiring for the platform, the wooden platforms, the wiring for the tower, all looking good and fantastically awesome. But you can still see there's a whole bunch more wires there. Now half of this is just the plug cables, the power cords for these guys, because each one of them have the power cord removed, because I'm going to come up with a nice and clean and neat way of doing my IT stuff and making that nice and neat. But I also have other connectors here that I have to, and I honestly forgot what some of them are, but some are not forgetful. So this guy here is a 12 volt DC right there. And this guy is what connects to the aforementioned, because I have in one building, because I was really lazy and I didn't have any Rob Hendricks life lights at the time. And so I was really lazy, and I just put one of these per floor. So again, these are 12 volt LEDs. They are stupid bright. These are what I made into dive lights, if you want to believe that. So I got basically a battery housing for 8 AA batteries, and I taped this to the end of it, and I put a magnetic reed switch in there, and I made a housing out of PVC pipe. Yes, household plumbing pipe. And I got my one of my buddies down in production there to cut me up some circles, plexiglass circles, and with a little bit of an O-ring. I have one in my garage. I might show it to you sometime. It's just awesome. It's a homemade flashlight that's waterproof, and I took it diving, and it goes down to a stupid number of feet, and it's just 8 AA batteries and this thing and a reed switch. And a magnet on the outside that you just spin, and then it'll just turn the light off and on. It's very robust. I was very impressed with it. It's not the brightest thing in the world, but it does what it needs to do. But anyway, for the Lego layout, I have one of these per floor in the habitat, and there's 4 floors. So I have 4 of these lights in there. They're all daisy chained together, 1 per floor. And then this is what powers those lights. So this thing plugs into the side of the habitat, plugs in. Now you can see my bad soldering job where I melted this guy. but this plugs in the side habitat, and it had a future state too, because I brought 4 wires to the 4-wire connector, because I was going to use this lead to bring even yet more life lights to the building. I did not do that yet. Basically, I put a Rob Hendricks, I can keep on saying that because I love the guy. I put a life lights kit itself in the building, and that's where one of these power supplies goes to. One of these power supplies also plugs in the side of the habitat, along with this plugging into the side of the habitat. But this is 12 volts. That works well. So this is just for the habitat. Happy with that. Does the job, and it's stupid bright, as I say. Good enough for Canada. The other one that I have to bring is this guy. Now, some of you might remember, if you have been around here long enough, you'll remember I made a whole bunch of videos where I show you the life light hack. Because, let's talk about this for a sec. I have a whole bin of EL wire, like a whole bin, because they were stupid cheap, and I just got them off of AliExpress. So I got a whole bin of these wires, and they come with this AA battery box. And you can see in the AA battery box, there's 2 batteries, which is 3 volts. And then you put them on the end here. Let's see if I can do this. I don't know if it's going to work here. I don't know how dead these batteries are. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Plug that in and turn this on. There, see? A little busted. But anyway, so I was doing that for a little bit because I love the EL wire on the layout. I love the circles. I love the lit up circles. I think that was really cool. And when Rob starts offering that, I'll buy it off of him. But that really does. This is what I do. Build my own. But what I found, and this is where I love Rob's stuff, is this stuff runs off of 3 volts, right? Because it's just a 3 volt battery box. With in here some circuitry to change it to, I don't know, something stupid like 10,000 volts, but some stupid milliamps, which you need an AC in order to make the actual EL wire light up. I don't know the exact specifications, but what I started doing is I started breaking off the battery box and taking that little circuit board out and jumping the power switch, because I needed to be on when there's power applied, because right now you have to hit the power button, right? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to remove all that stuff and have it permanently on if there's power applied to the input. So basically I just soldered, again, one of the life lights connector cables, ribbons, connector plugs, one to the positive, one to the negative, and plugged it into a life lights kit. And it worked fantastically well. But before I got around to doing that, I wired half that building with EL wire by itself. So there's an actual connector on the ribbon cable that goes up the tower that connects to this guy. So this is the 12 volt or the 3 volt connector. This thing is oh yeah, this might not be the right one. This is the Lego one. This is the, I was wondering what this was for. There it is. So this is also odd. So this is a Lego train controller or RCX controller. It takes 120 volts AC and knocks it down to 10 volts, 10.8 volts AC. This is the one that came with the adapter, and this knocks it down to 10 volts AC with 700 milliamps. So basically this is the kit that came with this guy here. And this guy then takes that 10 volts and knocks it down to 3.3 volts, which is what the EL wire needs. And so this thing connects to the ribbon cable that goes to the tower. And so this lights most of the not the life lights, the EL wire in the tower. The 4 rings on the landing pads, the rings on this, but there are a few EL wires where I did my 3.3 converter just by breaking up the battery box and then putting it plugged into a life lights kit, because that was just a lot easier for me, because the life lights kits are already through that entire building, and I just added EL wire to it, which is utterly fantastic. So so that's what I did with that one. So that's the EL wire. This guy we talked about, this is, I don't know what this is. This is 5 volts. I don't think I have anything for 5 volts. I don't know why I've been bringing this guy. I'm gonna bring him because I can't remember what he's for. I honestly can't remember now. So, but he was in the box, so obviously I use him for something. But so I'll bring him just in case I forgot something, because that's what usually happens. And then I have, this is my spare one of these, because again they're the same thing, right? So this is my spare just in case this guy gets busted. So this is a 12 volt adapter. I don't know if I have to bring him. I won't bring him this time. I hope I don't need him. And then the regular Lego train controllers and RCX power adapters. I have, at least in the end state, I have an RCX controlling the door at the repair bay and moving the ship in and out. I have an RCX controlling, one RCX controlling 2 of the monorail loops, so that's 2 RCXs. I have an RCX controlling the other 2, so that's 3 RCXs. I don't know if I'm going to control the train or not. That's going to be a debate. But right now, there are going to be no RCXs there. I am not going to bring RCXs. All the monorails are going to be controlled. The ones that can be controlled are going to be controlled by train controllers. So I'll need at least 3 of these. And the door, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to the point where it's opening and closing before Saturday and pushing the spaceship in and out, because it's a really cool thing to have, but time's pressing. So, but I'm going to need to bring a bunch of these controllers for the for this guy. I still love this. yes, it's so old school. It is 100% old school, and I love it. So it is 9 volts ish. 10 volts AC, as it says right on here. 10.8 volts VAC, 700 milliamps, 8 watts. I had so many of these at one point. I do not know what happened to a lot of them, because I remember having at least a dozen of them at one point, because I bought from Shop at Home. Was it Shop at Home? Or was it the Sears? I think it might have been the Sears, but I could be getting that wrong. Sears Outlet, but I bought, I think it was Sears Outlet actually at Center Mall. I bought 5 or 6 of that. I'll be nice about it. That express train, that blue-white express train, that was just. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it. I got lots of them, and then I kept on buying. I got the Metroliner, I got a few things, whatever. So I had a whole bunch of these, and of course used lots. Got some more in used lots. But I'm actually amazed how many I do not have now, because I used to have lots. But anyway, I already have 3 in a box. 3 in this box. This is my box that I brought home from the last show. I'll need those. Those are my power supplies already in here. Some miscellaneous pieces of batteries for the monorails, just in case the connectors don't work. I used, by the way, my homemade, my fixed up, my fixed train connectors. Utterly fantastic. So battery powered bricks, go over to his site. He'll show you how to do it. I always keep a battery box in here just in case. I'm gonna make this a lot neater. I don't think I need this. Oh, look at that copper. La. But this has a power connector on it. See, I have to replace that power connector. So that's out. So I always have one box at every show where I'm doing the layout and I'm finding miscellaneous pieces that I don't know what they're for and I don't have time to worry about it, so I throw them in a box. So this is that box. And I meant to do this. I found this piece on where it wasn't supposed to be, and I said I'm gonna put it back on. I just didn't bother doing it the last show, even though I had time. As you can see, there's a ring of them around every one of those guys, and this is exactly one of those that would just go right there like that. So I will bring it and add it, because there's a little yellow piece missing on one of them. So, but anyway, so as you can see, all in all, it is quite, quote unquote, it is quite the endeavor. That's like saying that word. It's quite the endeavor to get this thing lit as it is, because I am not able to build it in to the layout. The fact that I got the tower where I have 5 or 6 connectors, I think it's 6 now, I don't remember, so I just have to plug these guys into it. But I can't leave it up permanently, so I have to balance between transport, storage, setup, and display versus how long that takes to set up and stuff. So I could have built into the buildings those things. I could have built them into the buildings if I put some effort into it. I could have built them into the buildings. I could have made some spot to hide them and just have the 120 volt connectors where you just plug them in and the Bob's your uncle. I couldn't do that in the space and time and having the tower and the rest of the buildings look the way I wanted them to look. So I did not do that. And again, the original concept of the layout, as it kept on evolving, as Jeff remembers, over the years, lighting wasn't part of it. The first time I lit up anything was at the very first brick fete, and only the top half of the tower was lit up. But I knew I was gonna go running with it. I just had like 4 or 6 kits from Rob Hendricks. So I wasn't able to light it up the way I wanted to light it up until now. And the first brick was 2011. So here we're 11 years later, and I'm still not fully lit up yet. And that's because overall, and this is my point, first of all, I'm fundamentally lazy, straight up. But overall, the purpose of lighting it up is a bonus feature of the layout. Because overall, at 95% of the shows I'm ever going to do is not going to be lit up, because I'm going to be in some hall somewhere, at some toy train and doll show somewhere, some sort of collector show, some sort of hobby show, where they're not going to turn out the lights. So what's the point of lighting it up? When you're in a brightly lit gymnasium or international center or wherever, there's 0 point in lighting up the layout. There's not. There's absolutely no point in lighting up the layout, because the lights are so bright. Whatever lights they have in the building are so bright that it's gonna it's just gonna be a lot of work for nothing. Now, I did think that having the internal lit up so you can see inside is kind of cool, but the only time that building the lighting was for an actual Lego convention where they do have a lights out, and everyone I've been to has a lights out. Brick World Chicago had one, BrickFed had one. BrickFed had them every year, and BrickFest, if I remember correctly, may have been way too early for lighting at the time. I can't remember, but I think it's one of the staples of conventions now is to have a lights out, and so a lot of people are building lights into their creations. But I don't get to be able to go to lots of brick conventions, Lego conventions because of my life, and I don't get to the States a lot, and blah blah blah. My buddy Jeff's going to Brick World. I was there in 2010 with him, and my layout was not lit up back then. It really wasn't, but now it is. So the idea is to get the lighting, quote unquote, basically finalized to the point where if I actually do get out to a brick convention, that there will be a lights out, and I'll be able to. And I will also say this: at a brick convention, it's a lot more relaxed time for setting up. Like my setup time at Brick Fet, even though I was under the gun a little bit, my setup time is a lot more stretched out, as we say, because again, it's 2 days before the public days. But at a hobby show or a toy train and doll show, you got basically 2 hours to set up. I haven't done too many shows recently where it's longer than 2 hours. The last one I just did that you saw the videos of over at the Canadian Collector Toy Society show. Sorry, I got that wrong before. It is the Canadian Toy Collector Canadian Toy Collector Society show at Etobicoke there. I could have shown up the night before to start setting up, so that would have given me a bunch more hours to set up. It's just a personal thing. It's no slight to them at all, the organizers at all. They were absolutely exemplary, and I was my first show after COVID, and I was uncomfortable leaving my stuff in a room overnight, and it's an hour away for me to get to. The last time I left my layout overnight at a show, were our toy train and doll shows way back in the day, and I didn't have too much there. And I knew Doug and I knew Frank, and I had all the confidence in the world, and yet we still lost something at one of our shows. It wasn't actually a Lego, it was a camera, a very high-end camera. I walked away. And I feel bad about that to this day. So I am cautious. The older I get, the more cautious I become. Again, it's no slight to anybody else, but the older I get, the more cautious I'm getting about leaving my stuff around when I'm not there. So and again, and I've said this, I don't even know why I'm more cautious, because I don't want to say this too loudly, but if somebody were to steal this layout as it is right now, besides the Life Flights kits, of which I've shown you that I already have half of them again. Well, not half, but lots of them again. I could rebuild. I can't think of why I couldn't. Maybe what would be the limiting factor would be the bogies on the actual monorails, because I would have to source those, because I used up basically all my monorail bogies, wheel sets in this one. But that would be the only thing that off the top of my head that I would not be able to replace easily. I could rebuild this entire layout overall from the pieces I have in this basement. So it's not like, I lost it and I started over from scratch. No, it is what it is. I do have a collection that is mine, and it's exactly what makes me happy. So but on a completely different note, and getting off this, just to finish that one up, I at this point am uncomfortable leaving my layout. I won't have the same problem at a brick convention, because we all are brick people, and nobody's going to steal my stuff. But at a show I've never been to before, I'm uncomfortable leaving my stuff there overnight without me there. And I didn't even bother asking the guy. So I just said, no, I'll start setting up at 7 o'clock in the morning. I got there at 7. Let's go off on this quick tangent. So since I didn't have to wire the lighting, because you can see the lighting is going to take some time. The lighting adds a lot, an X factor to the time of setup. But without the setup. I got to the building at 7:03, unloaded the entire van by myself, and started actually putting the layout together about 7:27. Yeah, about 7:20. I actually started putting the wood platforms down with the space base plates on it and setting up. So at 7:20 I started setting up, and I was done basically the entire layout set up by 9 a.m. I was still tweaking it because, you know me, I like to have my guys actually look like they're doing something. I was placing my spaceships after the public opened, but not too many. And I was honestly taking my time. I could have done it faster, but I was taking my time and quote unquote just enjoying it. And my first time back doing a layout at a show. So talking to people, blah, blah, blah. So about an hour and 40 minutes to set up, which isn't bad. I think the wiring, the lighting is gonna add at least half an hour to that, especially the first few times. So I'm not, I'm cognizant of that, and I haven't updated my 2x4s because one of my original ideas is to drill a hole through the 2x4s right down the center, because that's where this wiring harness goes. This wiring harness basically goes straight down the center of the layout. And what I did last time is I laid it on top of the 2x4s, which caused an issue with the wooden modules to rock back and forth on top, because the ribbon cable is thin but not 100% thin. So there was some sort of discrepancy variance of the clearance, and so some of my modules were rocking down the center, and so I was going to drill holes through the center of every one of my 2x4s to slip the ribbon cable through and worry about that. But then I thought that's going to be a lot more work, because when you wind it up, like this, it's these alternate ends that are like sitting out here, right? So you have to start from this one end, and you start unraveling it till you get to the center, which is where all the wires come together. So trying to pull this thing through the holes in the 2x4s, gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. So then I started thinking I'll just kind of cut a notch in the top of the 2x4s, and I just haven't done that yet. so I might get my radial arm saw going this week and just dado get my woodworking tools, dado a little notch about that wide in the top of the center of all the 2x4s, and that should be fine. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about before I wrap this up. I will say this: the Lego by itself is a fantastic hobby. If you want to stay a purist, and then you can tell I'm not, but if you want to stay a purist, there's enough in the hobby to stay pure and have the time of your life with it. For me, what added to this specific aspect of the hobby was pulling together so many of my other hobbies that I've loved over my life. I mean, I've been playing around with electronics and soldering and circuit boards since I was 8 years old. I'm not a perfectionist at it. I'm not good at it like Rob Hendricks is and other people, because I am colorblind, so I can't tell resistors. Because resistors are all color coded. So that was always my bane of growing up and trying to build circuit boards and crystal radios and all that crap, is the resistors, because I'd have to go back to the packaging and blah blah blah. I could not tell one resistor from another, and so that limited my ability to fully enjoy integrated circuits. Well, not ICs, because chips are great, circuits and design and stuff like that. But I know enough to get myself into mischief. I know enough that I could take the EL wire 3-volt adapter and break it out of the battery box and solder it together to jump over the power switch, and to connect it to a Rob Hendricks life lights connector and plug it into a basic kit and have EL wires wherever I wanted. So I'm that dangerous. and woodworking, like I built those boxes I've always loved work. My dad taught me how to use power tools when I was in single digits. Here's a jigsaw, Dave. Here's a drill. And it was his old 1960s Mastercraft stainless steel stuff that weighed a ton, but with no variable speed, by the way, back in the day. But solid steel, those things would still be around today. Because they were just awesome. There's so many memories of me working with wood and building those wooden puzzles back in the day that now I've converted into Lego puzzles. But doing all that stuff, working with wood, and then getting my radial arm saw. And I think if you go back, you can see a tour of my wood shop where I have my radial arm saw and I have my table saw that my Uncle George gave me before he passed away. It's an old Craftsman table saw. They call it cabinet maker saw, and it's older than me. And I love it. The radial arm saw is not as old as me, but not, probably 1970 something. And I use it a lot for everything. And so I got to build those boxes and the rails and blah, blah, blah. And figuring that out. There's not much to figure out, but still to have a transportable platform for the layout. So I don't have to worry about tables. I mean, that was a huge bonus for me, and to be able to do some woodworking for my Lego hobby, and even the Cricut, printing off the stuff for the landing pads and the rails and the ships and all that stuff. I love it, and it adds for me, it adds a lot more depth of story time. Not just because I get to ramble on for 46 minutes here, but for the actual layout. People were, again, because I do this almost purposely. I actually do it purposely. My guys, I keep on saying my guys, my Lego minifigs have to look like they're doing something. They're doing something. They have a purpose. They're busy. They're doing their job. They're doing their whatever, exploring. And people were at the show, walking up and just admiring and noticing. And I think one of Joseph's friends mentioned that, or Joseph himself mentioned it, that the layout from a distance has enough to make it visually appealing. And again, I don't make any qualms about this. It's not deprecating. It's not advanced building techniques. Straight up, it's not advanced. It really isn't. Yes, the circles are quote unquote unique, but you can do them. Anybody can do them. It's brick on top of brick. It's honestly this tower right here, and this is a quick little mock-up that I made for something else that I had an idea, but I'm not going to bother doing it. But it's brick on top of brick all the way up, right? It honestly is. There's no snot. There's no unique building experiences. There's no building techniques in there that anybody who's out there who can build this thing, right? Who can build that. I mean, that's it. There's some advanced building techniques in here, right? And I'm not going to pull it down, but the Winnie the Pooh tree, like I keep on looking at the Winnie the Pooh tree that I have over here, and I'm going, wow, and that's just utterly fantastic. And it's even this guy, right? Josh and I built that together. I can't naturally build this way, right? So it's not in me, and it could, like, people say, oh, you should try it. I don't have, it's not that I don't have the wherewithal to try. It's just that I'm not, I guess it comes down to I'm not interested. I love building Lego sets that I get that have all these fantastically way of creating things. Peter Reed's mech is one of my favorite builds of all time. It really is. I don't know how many of them, but I absolutely adore it. But it's not my style. This is my style, right there. So, and so I'm taking it to the degree that I want to take it in, and appreciating what I want to appreciate about it, and coming up with new ways. But anyway, so I think it was Joseph said, from a distance, there's enough to see, and up close, there's the details to see. It's like when you're going for a hike and you appreciate the forest, and then you appreciate the trees, and then you appreciate the bark, and then you appreciate the microbes and blah, blah, blah. I wanted something that was visually appealing from a great distance, and so you see it across the room, and then when you get up close to it, it doesn't disappoint. One of my favorite things of all time, and this happened a few times in my life, is that you come across, you're walking down the street, or you're walking in the forest or whatever, and you see something that looks really cool from a distance, and you get up close and it goes, oh, it's just that. and it loses its like charm that you saw from a distance, whether it was a shadow across a rock or whatever it is. From a distance, you say, "Oh, that looks like it could be like the coolest. It could be a spaceship. It could be something," and you walk up close. Oh, it's just two rocks the way they cast a shadow, and it's still cool. But that all of a sudden that coolness left. That overall awesome coolness left. And I will say that at a few times in my life, like I can't be surprised by my layout, but I love other people surprised by my layout. And I love that. Just that's why I love shows. But there was one time in my life that just vividly makes the case for me for the coolness factor. Something that looked cool. It's like you see an ad in the paper and you order it. Right, and it's different. Like the coolness factor is not as cool as it was when you saw the ad, and it was a bunch of years back. And I'm going to bring up the SEQ again. When I saw the ad for the SEQ, the 4 SEQs that I got, which is the predecessor to the RCX, what I'm calling the predecessor to the RCX, the third-party predecessor to the RCX, made by a good friend, wish I knew him, in Great Britain. But the predecessor to the SEQ, I stumbled across the ad, and within the first picture, I said, I have to, because in the picture, all I saw was a bundle of old 4.5 volt gray wire. And the second I saw it, I knew what it was. You can see the plugs, right? You say, oh, this is Lego 4.5 volt wire. But why is somebody selling a whole bin of it? Right? Who has a whole bin? And I just saw the corner in the first picture of one of the SEQs. It was in the picture. And I'm going, oh, what's this now? And I'm going, this could be the most awesome thing I've ever found on Facebook Marketplace. And so I sent the person who posted it a message. He says, "Oh, it's sold pending pickup." And I said, "Oh no, that's bad." And so and it was up there the next day, and I pestered it. I sent him emails. I said, "Dude, like I'll come out right now. I will drive to Mississauga right now and pay you the money you're looking for." And he goes, "Well, the guy hasn't shown up yet. He said he was going to be here 2 hours ago, and he hasn't shown up yet. So if you can be here within whatever." So I hopped in my car, drove out there. And it was, I won't say it's the one time, but for me, it seemed like the one time when the actual getting it was so far better than the actual ad. Because usually people are disappointed by the actual, Spock would say, having is not nearly as awesome as wanting, no matter how illogical that seems. Not to bring Star Trek into this, to Pring. I mean, watch Strange New World is awesome. But anyway, and so the SEQs, and you can go back to my feeds and see how many videos I made about the SEQs and how awesomely awesome it is. And to this day, I get so happy and giddy when I got that kit. That lot off of Marketplace, because it was so cool. And this is why I love the secondhand market, to go off on this tangent now, is that you never know what you're going to find in a lot. It's a used lot, and this is why I talked about, this is why I love used lots and what I'm going to find in it and what sets are in there and the investigation. I adore that. And so I'm happy. I was so ecstatically happy when Joseph said that at the show. And a few other people who came straight up to the layout, because I was at the back of the building, and the entrance was at the front of the building when people walked in, and they could see it across the room. And basically, of course, the kids dragged them over, which is always what happens. And the kids are checking out the layout, and the dads are checking out the layout, and it's every show. Oh, I had this set when I was a kid. I had the 918 when I was a kid. And I had the 924 when I was a kid. Blah blah blah. And then we have the chats and we have the talks, and it was so much. It was so joyous to me to be at a show, having these conversations again, because that's what I look forward to in a show. And just enjoying the hobby with other people who have passion and memories and the just the goodness of the thoughts. And it's very, and I've never encountered it before, and I hope I never encounter it. Somebody who's just meh. I mean, you can be meh and just don't walk up to me and tell me you're meh. I'm sure some people just don't really care about Lego at all, and that's perfectly acceptable. It's not everybody's chosen hobby. But all the people I liaise with, everybody I come across, everybody when I'm at a show and they're talking about it, um, just absolutely adore Lego and they have a passion for it, even if they never touched it in 20, 30 years. It brings them back to their childhood. It brings them back to their fond memories, brings them back to their imagination. And they honestly, they always tell me their stories. And it's just absolutely enthralling. And I absolutely live for it. As the one of the main reasons why I love to do shows. And it's one of the main reasons why I love to do this specific show, because it's such a niche in the Lego history. And this is why I build the way I build, because it's my niche too. I lived it. So I was there, and my buddy Chris has progressed past that, and he makes fantastic models. I love his new stuff from Lightyear. He's building all the ships from Lightyear, and it's just an absolutely beautifully fantastic job. And I am enthralled by his stuff, and I'm excited by his stuff, and I can't wait to see what he builds next. Um, and I'm here doing what I'm doing. Everybody has their gifts. Everybody has their passions. Everybody has their wants and desires. Some people have told me that I'm kind of stuck in the past. I don't have a problem with that. My building techniques are always old. I don't have a problem with that. They say you should challenge yourself. I've had a few people come up to me, oh, you should challenge yourself to build the way Lego builds now. I'm going, I have enough challenges right now in my life. I don't need to challenge myself anymore. I'm quite good challenging myself with wiring, with woodworking, with electronics and blah, blah, blah. This is how I'm challenging myself now. So on a future state, not to make this get to 60 minutes, future state, I am going to be retired at some point in the quote unquote near future, within the decade. Obviously I'm going to be retired, and when I retire, I'm going to have all this extra time, quote unquote. I'm sure there's going to be stuff to do around the house, but I'm going to have this extra time to build. And the mind might not be able to catch up to the 21st century way of doing things. I don't know yet. And I might appreciate certain things more than I do now. But I'm sitting here at 50-ish, 55. And I've been doing this since I was 5 or more. So 50 years of doing it the way I've been doing it. And it's always made me happy. And it's always challenged me the way I do it. And so I don't have to have other people tell me that I can do it differently and challenge myself more. I'm challenged quite enough to do the stuff I want to do, and the stuff I keep on trying to do and make it better. And so I'm not done with this yet. I am slowly working at it, picking at it one part at a time. I am at the point now where the lighting is at a point where I'm comfortable with it. I still have to do a few more things. I haven't built enough spotlights, but I do want to add more automation and more things moving to the layouts, which is where all those guys are coming in. So I'm not done with this yet. So I'm sorry if some people are bored with seeing the same classic space layout every single show. Nobody's said that to me. I've had so many people walk up to me at the show, oh, I saw this from BrickFat. And I go, you're at BrickFat? And we talk about BrickFat and how wonderful Janie is. So, and they said, oh, and they say, oh, I saw this video online. I said, oh, this is awesome. People are surfing to trying to find us in the video. So I'm not quite done with this yet. I know that there are people out there who have to have something new every year. I do something new every show, but it's little tiny enhancements to this layout for now. If it's going to change, it's going to change. But right now, I don't see myself anytime soon changing what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to keep on puttering along. And as I say, I'm walking in this direction. I've said this so many times. If you want to come along with me, I'd love the company. But if this doesn't interest you, have a nice life. You can walk in a separate direction. I'm not going to change my style because you think I need to challenge myself. I'm challenged quite enough. There's enough going on in my life, and even in my hobby here, to keep me interested and keep my mind working on it, keep my ideas coming. So I'm good right now. I'm going to keep you posted. Hopefully, I don't know how many more videos I'm going to be doing this week. It depends on if I got inspired or not. I am trying to limit my videos to being inspired, and this is what inspired me, because all these wires were sitting out here waiting for me to get organized before the show this weekend. So I was inspired enough to talk about it. There's a lot here that is really interesting to me. I don't know if it's interesting to anybody else, but it's a lot here that interests me. And I am trying to come up with solutions to issues that I have, like building this Lego thing that holds the wire. That's a solution. It's moderately good, but I still have to do, because it takes a while to unravel because all these wires are there. I didn't have a good label creator, so I just used masking tape. And these are the number of modules. So this goes to module number 3. This one goes into module number 2, number 6. There are better ways of doing it, I know. And again, I don't want to dissuade anybody from telling me stuff. When I mentioned that, some people say, "Oh, Dave, you should challenge yourself more and do something else." That's how it came across to me. If somebody comes up with an idea, "Hey, Dave, hey, this is something you can think about," absolutely throw me a line. I love ideas. Some of my ideas for the layout came from my very good friend Jeff, as we did shows in the past. so there's a lot of Jeff, even though the only thing that's in the layout still is Jeff's building and the sign. There's a lot of my friend Jeff Van Winden in this layout, even though he didn't physically build it. He inspires me, so I am forever in his debt. There's some Janie in here. I love Janie. Some of my and other people. Like there are bits and pieces from my entire life in this layout, and from people who've inspired me. So if you have any ideas, any suggestions, any hey Dave, maybe you can think about doing it this way, I will absolutely welcome that kind of stuff. But oh, there's the phone. I'm going to go now. This is over an hour. So we'll talk more later. I'll talk to you soon.